work together better. At the moment, they are two separate industries. They're two separate systems. There is not an easy way for students to progress from vocational education and training into higher education and training. So the government has appointed an industry czar, former president of Western Sydney University, Professor Barney Glover. So he released his report yesterday, talking about how this needs to be the focus in Australia, right? Connecting vocational education and higher education. So my question to the panel is, how would you do that in your country? Are there examples of good practice that you've already seen? And what are some of the challenges that we might face in trying to bridge these two separate industries?
Yeah, in Malaysia we've got something called TVET. Okay, maybe my colleagues can tell me the acronym of it. Prof, anything? Technical, vocational, education, training. Yeah. So TVET. So we have got something called TVET. So the government has been regulating and then insisting on us, and then we find a lot of good response from students as well. So I think the future is going to be completely vocational. Even there was one tweet from Elon Musk. I don't know how many of you have gone through this. It came just like a month back. He was telling one point, we are not bothered about which university you are. We are not bothered about what degree you have. If you have got Python knowledge, we will take you. I'm just telling you kind of an precise. He was completely discounting the universities and system. As long as you have got that knowledge, we'll take you inside. So it's going to be like a tailor-made program. It may not be a conventional 3-year degree, 2-year degree, 5 years degree. I couldn't find like that. It's becoming a threat. Universities, we are facing a threat because vocational is coming up really well and it really has a sense. The substance is very good actually. And we don't find as a wrong thing the government is insisting on it. And we have good response as well. A person who is very good in mechanical, why should he go through completely on different part of science? He can go in mechatronics. So this is where the vocational programs are really coming up, and we have got this micro credential is also coming up, where we have the customized and tailor-made programs where I can take 2 modules in one university, then I can go to my career path in another university. So these are all some elements which is very interesting, and it is maybe it's the future is what I think we should be focusing more on those, rather than conventional program. So vocational micro credential are the key thing, like how we can have the industry engagements more in the coming days.
Fantastic, I love it. It sounds very exciting for young learners that they will be able to micro-credential skills and choose their own direction for their education. Fantastic. And for you, Ms. Angelica, what about you? What do you think are some of those challenges and opportunities bridging vocational and higher education?
The maritime is an international workforce. And, before the STCW, which is the Bible no, in maritime, it was, knowledge based. But now it is competency based. So there is what we call pivot in maritime. And the formula for competency? Competency is equals knowledge, skills, and attitude. And when you say pivot, that is skill. So so we train our seafarers like 3D printing so that they'll be able to prepare the parts of the vessel so they need not call the supplier like emergency purpose on board the vessel like if you are in the middle of the sea so they can prepare their own parts. No? So skills is really very important and it's not only technical skills we need soft skills, the communication, team working, and of course, we train not only technical, competent seafarers, but leaders of the future. And not only that, we also have a training center in my institution where we provide free training to our community, like firefighting, simulation, fisheries. We adopt, a small fisheries community and we train them whatever training we have in the academy, like for example, welding, So they are also trained. So we give back to the community.
Fantastic. So some really interesting skills that you've identified that actually community needs, but it's not necessarily that it gets through traditional education, but you're able to still deliver that training. Fantastic. And finally, Professor Sigit, for your experience, how do you think we can bridge that gap between vocational and higher education?
Okay, but before I answer the questions that in Indonesia, there's a different level of vocational educations compared with the higher educations. There is level 5 and also level 6 and 7. That's differences. But to combine between vocational and also higher educations, now we have a prototype, what we call is TIFA, Teaching Factory. This teaching factory consists of the skill educations, then skill, which is soft skill, which is already mentioned before, and also the micro credential. Student must complete their specific competency for specific credit, so around 84 credits during the 4 semester. After that, they are free to choose whatever they want to study. For example, in my area, within 4 semester, 4 to 5 semester, student must learn about the competency of animal science or animal industry. Afterward, they can, maybe if they want to develop the skill in the area of financial, they can learn in another micro credential to earn the credit in another faculty or another university to get that knowledge. Even they can also go to the professionals to have a specific skill which is needed to develop that. That's the prototype that now we are starting to develop, and might be will be a good bridge for vocational and higher education.
Fantastic, really interesting. Um, it's very curious you mentioned the level of the qualifications.
Yes.
This is something that Australia has exactly the same.
Okay.
So Australian qualification, vocational training is considered level 4 and level 5, whereas higher education is level 6.
Yeah.
So this report that was released yesterday talks about how this system of putting levels doesn't enable collaboration because vocational is seen as lesser than higher ed.
And the higher education is much theoretical, they said, and then the vocational must be at the skill level. We can combine with by, for example, the result from the research from the higher education can be applied directly by the skill level in the vocational. It's also important. It's also possible. Yeah, industry only need revenue, nothing small, and they just need something simple that is the technology can be applied or not. Finish.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, look, I think that's a fantastic conversation we've had. It's only touching the surface of what is a very deep topic. It's a very relevant topic, and I'm sure it's something that will come up again and again in your conversations. But before we end, I'd just like to invite the panel to make some closing remarks, if you wish.
So the key point, the key take home, what it should be for us, this discussion should be about the collaboration between the universities, industry, and policymakers. So this should be the most important. Ultimately, we are working for the industry, and it has to be implemented with the policymakers. The collaborative agreement is required, and the research that where I'm coming from, the insistence has to be given on the research part. So the lecturers and the university stakeholders have to be focusing more on research. I don't know your qualification, I don't know your race, I don't know your country, but if I know your H index, I can tell you who you are. That's how it works nowadays. I don't know how far it is true. Google doesn't agree, but this is what your H index matters a lot. People say that is about your citations. So the more insistence has to be given on your research part, so that will be more of industry engagement, and it's a collaborative work is what that is what I think the ultimate aim is how we can engage the industry. So the collaborative between, again I repeat, the universities, universities and then the industry and the policymakers.
So that just to summarize, I should say that in aligning our maritime curriculum with market needs, so this is not just an educational imperative, rather it is necessity for the future of the industry. So we have to embrace change, foster collaboration, as what Professor Valley said, prioritizing both technical and soft skills, as Cedric said, and so that we can ensure that our graduates are not only job ready, but also equipped to lead the industry, whether it's maritime, health, law, so that we can have an industry that is sustainable and innovative future. Thank you.
Okay. From the market perspective, that there is two things. We are producing something which can be absorbed by the market, or we are producing something we need to push the market absorb that. It's also in the education industry. So the conclusions from today is the collaborations, continuous evaluations, and adoptions from maybe different industry or different curriculum can be adapted in specific topic, which is might be can be the solution for the gap between industry and academic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, panel. You've given me a lot to think about. It's something that's really an area of passion for me, and it's, as I say, it's very relevant right now in Australia. So thank you. Could you please give our panel a very warm round of applause?
Thank you very much for our speakers, the panelists. Please, you may go back to your seat.